Hello everyone, in today's video I'll show you how to crochet these scrap baggy shorts. I hope you will enjoy this video, and if you do, don't forget to hit subscribe, like this video, and let's get into it. And to make these shorts you will need your choice of yarn in weight double knit, either solid color or you can use various yarns like I do. Then you will need 4.5mm hook, needle, scissors, and 2 stitch markers. And just before you begin, you will need to decide on the length of your chain for the bottom of the shorts, because that's where the pattern starts from. And I did 75 double crochets. This fits me slightly looser, so it's a bit baggier, but you will need to decide what length you want just before you begin. And you can do this by chaining, as an example 10, doing a couple of rows of those double crochets, measure it and see how many you need for the size of shorts that you like. And once you know how many you need to chain, make a slip knot and do your chain. I'm gonna do a total of 75. And now once your chain is done, this is how mine looks like. You want to grab the other end and make sure that it's not twisted. So by grabbing it, just go along, making sure it's not twisted. And do a slip stitch into that very first chain. So just go in, yarn over and pull up a loop, and pull that first loop through your second one. And just before continuing, you can double check once again if your chain is not twisted. Mine isn't, so I'm just gonna chain 2 to begin the first round. And what you will need to do is to basically do a double crochet in all chains. So that's gonna be 75 double crochets for me, and it might be different for you, but you want to yarn over, go into that same first stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That's your first double crochet. And by the way, I'm not counting the chain of 2 as my stitch. I'm gonna skip it when I come to the end. But yeah, yarn over, go into the next, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 twice. And this is what you will need to repeat till the end. So let me finish mine and I'll show you how to join it together. And I'm now nearly at the end of my row. I have 1 chain left, so I'm just gonna go with that last double crochet, just like so. And then you want to find your first double crochet, so that's your chain of 2, and that's your first double crochet. Put your hook in, pull up a loop, and do a slip stitch to join into round. And this is how mine looks like, but yours should be looking similar to this, maybe more or less stitches. But once that's done, you want to chain 2 again, and what you will be doing initially is repeating that first row. So you chain 2, do double crochets in all stitches. When you come to the end of your row, you will skip the chain and go into the first double crochet with a slip stitch. And this is what you will repeat until you reach the desired length of your short, so from the crotch area basically. But yeah, I'm just gonna continue with my double crochets. And to those who are using scrap yarn or multiple colors, I will show you how to change the color. But if you are using just a single solid color, you don't need to do this. And now when you want to change color, with the old, go and do a double crochet without pulling through the last 2 loops. Leave it like that, drop your color, grab your new one, wrap it around your hook and pull it through while holding on those tails. Then grab your working yarn, and the reason why I am having these tails is because I want them to be there, as you probably already seen. But if you don't want your tails, you can put them to the back, and when doing your stitches, make sure that they are above your hook. That way you will basically be working your tails in under those stitches, as you can see. So you would just continue as normal, just making sure that the tails stay above your hook. You won't have to hide them later, but if you prefer to do so, just leave them on the wrong side and using needle hide it. But yeah, as you can see, it gets carried in. And for those who want these tails hanging on your right side of the shorts, just bring them forward and as well do your stitches as you normally do. So you will continue with those double crochets, and I will basically be doing 24 rows. So I'm just gonna finish that and I will meet you at the end. And if you are leaving the tails in front, I would highly suggest just making double knot to secure them in place so that it doesn't get unravel and you don't lose your stitches. And once you come to an end, as always, slip stitch into the first double crochet, which I'm doing here, chain 1 to finish off, and finish off with a longer tail for sewing. So I already cut mine, but I left about a meter of a tail, but that's more than enough. And this is how mine looks like. So like I said, I did 24 rows, but that depends how long you want your shorts to be, and it's only up until the crotch area. So now we want to repeat the same exact thing one more time and do the same amount of stitches as well as the rows, and I will meet you then. And what you want to do next is basically put one of them on to measure the crotch area. So basically from the front to the back, making sure that this tail where you finished off is quite in the middle, so the seam is inside of your inner part of the legs, and measure how many stitches you need to leave out. This is 20 stitches for me, but yeah, the easiest way to do this is to put it on, put the stitch marker in front, in the back, and count how many stitches you need to leave out. So yeah, if it's confusing, it's basically the area of the inner side of your leg, and you will need to measure to see how many stitches you need to leave out. And I'm just basically marking these two together. So I'm using the stitch marker to hold both of them in place, just like so. And once again, it's 20 stitches for me. And if you look at it from above, this is basically the part that goes from front to back. So once you put them together, using the tail that you have left, you will need to either sew them together or slip stitch it together. So yeah, I'm just gonna use my needle, and since this tail is in the middle of what I need to sew, I'm just gonna make my way to the stitch marker on either side. And once you are on the stitch with the stitch marker, sew it together, just basically going through stitches on both of your panels. And once again, you can, instead of sewing do slip stitches. I just prefer to sew it as it's a bit easier, but yeah, you will need to do that for all of the stitches that you have marked. And as you can see, I have my other tail here, which is also facing inside, and this is because we don't want our seam of the short to be on the outside. It's going to be less visible if you place it on the inside part of the leg. And yeah, just like so, I'm going to go through all of the stitches till I am on this stitch marker. And I'm now at the end here, so I'm just gonna do a few more stitches to make sure that it's secure, and then I will hide this tail in. It might not be very visible with this buckle yarn, but what you want to do is to just kind of go into your stitches one way as well as the other way, making as many directions as possible, because if you only went one way, if you pull it, it might come out. So yeah, do as many zigzags as you can to make sure that it's secure. And this is where I'm gonna cut it off. You can now take the stitch markers out, and this is how it will look just yet. So it will look a bit weird, but now we will be moving on to the waist part and do some rows too. So we will be basically crocheting around both of these. So I will have, instead of 75 for one, I will have 55, making a total 110 stitches, because both of my legs are now 55 each without these 20. And it might be a bit different for you, but yeah, you want to grab your hook, join your yarn into this very first stitch on this side, and to join it you just wrap your yarn around your hook, pull it through, and chain 2 to begin new round. I'm just gonna bring this tail forward, and I will do double crochet into that same stitch, and just like before, double crochet in all of the stitches all around, making sure that when you reach this point you just continue on this side. But yeah, once I'm at that point I will show you. So I'm just gonna finish one side and I will meet you then. And now once you've finished one of the legs, you will come to your second leg, and as you can see, that's my last double crochet of the current leg, and that's my next one. So if I did a double crochet like so, there will be a hole. What you want to do instead is basically we will be doing a decrease stitch using this space here. So you want to yarn over, go into that space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, leave it like this, then yarn over, go into the actual first stitch now, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and you will have 3 loops. Yarn over and pull through all 3. So this kind of sorts the problem with that hole, and it doesn't add up any stitches because that is still considered to be one stitch, as you can see here. Then you want to just continue with double crochets until you come to the end. And I am now at the end of my round, and once again you will need to do the same exact thing you did on the other side. So I have one stitch left, I have the space where these 2 legs are joined, and I'm going to do a decrease. So go with the double crochet into the first stitch, pull through 2 and leave the other 2 on your hook. Then again yarn over, go into that space in between, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through all 3. Then find your first double crochet and do a slip stitch to join into round. Chain 2, and now before you continue, after doing this first round, you can kind of have an idea what kind of size this is. So just because I made my shorts quite baggy because I didn't want a tight look, it made my waist quite big, which is far away from the actual waist size I need. That means I will need to decrease. If you did your shorts kind of tight, it won't be as big as mine, and you will need to place less decreases across the rows for the waist. And the best way to probably figure this out and play around is to grab it, put it on, and kind of cinch with your hands to see how many stitches, whether just a few or that much, you need taking off. Or another way is to just go with each row, decrease by a few, and keep checking it on until you reach desired size weight as well as the length. So by doing your rows, you will decrease, as well as by making your rows, you will build up on the length of your waist. So what I'm going to do for the next row, I'm going to place 4 decreases, and for the row after, so for row number 3, if I'm only counting from this one, I'm just going to do normal row of double crochets, meaning I will be decreasing just every other row. But yeah, just because this is made to measure, you will need to play around and see how many you need to decrease. But the easiest way is to keep trying it on after doing at least few rows of decreases, just to see if you haven't decreased too many. And I would recommend not to make it super tight because you won't be able to put it on. So make it close to your waist, but still big enough so you can actually wear it. And we will be adding drawstring just to keep it in place at the end. But yeah, once you're ready and chained 2, go in with that double crochets and continue making them until you're ready to place decrease. And like I said, I'm gonna be placing 4 decreases. I will try to place them evenly. So I will be placing my decrease here, 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 and here, so that they all placed and spread out evenly. If you are doing 6, then you will probably need to place 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then the same on the other. I'm not gonna count the stitches because you probably have different number of them anyway. But yeah, just try to spread them out, and that's it. But yeah, I'm just gonna make my way to the middle of my leg. Stitches. So yeah, I'm about in the middle here. I'm gonna place my decrease, which is yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, leave the other 2 on top of your hook, yarn over, go into the next, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, you will have 3 on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And as you can see, they still look like 2 double crochets, but they are kind of merged together. Let me just show you this. So out of these 2, for the next row, it's only going to be 1 stitch. And then you're just going to continue making your remaining decreases across the row. And once you come to the end, you will need to slip stitch this row. So let me just finish mine, and I will show you how to do that one more time. And I'm now at the end of my second row. I'm just gonna do my last double crochet in here. And as you can see, there is no gap anymore, so just go into the first one, make a slip stitch, and join into the round, chain 2, and you will begin your next round, which is for me again just a normal row, doing double crochets in all stitches, and then I will again do my decrease row. So this is what you will need to keep doing until you reach your desired size, waist, and length. So yeah, let me do that and I will come back at the end. And once you finish, this is how it should look. That's mine at least. Done. And you're just gonna go and do a slip stitch into first double crochet, chain 1, and cut your tail. This is the tail that I will be hiding, but it's like I showed before. I'm just gonna grab my needle, feed that through, and on the wrong side, just going into the stitches one way and then back the other way. And I will run through the rows that I did just in case anyone wants to follow the same tutorial, and I'll try to put that on the screen. But basically I did 24 rows for the main part, so for each leg I did 24 rows. And moving from the crotch area up to the waist, I did 16 rows in total. So starting with the first one here, that was just a double crochets around. Then I placed 4 decreases for second row. The third row was again just a double crochets. Row number 4 was 2 decreases but placed on the front side. So I was doing this because I didn't want to decrease the back just because of the butt. And then row 5 was just double crochets. Row 6 again 2 decreases at the front. Rows 7, 8, 9 and 10 was just a double crochets all around. And then my row 11 was evenly placed 4 decreases. Then row 12 just double crochets. Row 13 again 4 decreases. Row 14 just double crochets, then again row 15 4 decreases, and last row just a double crochets. And I will also leave this in the description in case you want to follow exact same one. But now the last thing left to do is to do a chain for your waist. So I have a doubled yarn. I'm gonna make a slip knot and I will be chaining 180. And once you're done, just pull it through, tighten it up. I'm gonna leave these tails, but you could hide them in if you want to. Now you want to grab your shorts facing with the front. So I have my front here, and I'm gonna start feeding that through. So I'm just gonna feed the very beginning of it, which is gonna stay in here, and I will be going every 4 stitches, basically just weaving that in, so to the front, then 4 stitches apart to the back, and so on, and I'll do this all around. And once you come all around, just make sure that these 2 drawstrings hang symmetrically in the front, and this is it. You can also trim these tails if you went with it having them on the right side, just to make it a bit neater, but that is pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, don't forget to hit subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you in my next one.